All right, boys and girls, free agency kicks off tomorrow. Legal tampering period starts, doesn't officially get underway until Wednesday, but we're going to know a whole bunch of moves going on with the New York Jets and the rest of the league. A lot of stuff going on in the last 24 hours, 48 hours or so. Trades going down. DK Metcalf gets a new contract with the Steelers. Whole lot of stuff going on. Josh Allen gets a new deal. We're going to get into all of it. I want to hear your thoughts, your comments, your concerns. Want to talk about Sherwood getting himself a nice little contract with the Jets. We got some rumors about Justin Fields coming on board potentially. What is the likelihood of that? I do have a poll question in the chat. Would you sign up? Or should the Jets sign Justin Fields? Just yes or no? You guys vote on that in the poll. But I'm very excited to get into it with all you guys out there in the chat. See a bunch of you rolling on in here. I see M. Jettits, Big JT, Tony, Mutt Viles, Wimmy, Back Porch Sports, A-Money, Logan, Zachary. Thank you so much for tuning in, hanging out with the late 10 o'clock. That sort of feels like 9 o'clock thanks to Daylight Savings Time stream for Jets Talk 24/7. Got a lot going in there. Want to acknowledge our boy, Pure Adrenaline Sports. Where'd you go? Right here. Bam! Welcome to the economy class. Thank you so much for supporting the stream. If you guys would like to help support the stream, you can help support the sponsors of the stream, or you can click the join button down below. Certainly goes a long way. And you could also just like the video. You don't have to. Hopefully you like what I'm saying, and then you like the video. Or you just want to show a little support. Glad to have you here. Thank you so much, Pure Adrenaline Sports. Let's get him a JETS. I like it. I like it. All right, boys and girls. I want to go through a bunch of different topics tonight. This is some of the stuff I got going on. Boom. Some of my thoughts. I should have pulled up my prediction. I do have my prediction for who I think the Jets are going to sign, which I guess I could, you know what? I'm going to leave that. A little cliffhanger right now. I'm going to give you guys who I think the Jets are going to sign and how it's going to go down. After this, I do want to talk a little bit about some of the contracts that were signed today. Big money deals. Josh Allen, 6 years, $330 million. Damn! Had 4 years left on his contract. Big old contract. Steelers, 5-year contract, $150 to DK Metcalf. Myles Garrett gets $40 million a year, 4 years, $160 million. Mylanta. That is a whole lot of money to pay a defensive end. I'm pretty sure Crosby got 35, which was still, that was bonkers at the time. But $40 million, I mean, we might be drafting edge rushers every single first round to avoid paying a contract like that. That's crazy. Myles Garrett, clearly one of the best in the league to do it. Devontae Adams gets 2 years, $46 million from the Rams. That's $23 million a year. Nick Bolton, 3 years, $45 million. That matches the deal that Jamien Sherwood also got, 3 years, $45 million. Harold Landry gets a contract from the Patriots, 3 years, $43.5 million. Not quite like our boy Sherwood, but right up there all the same. Seahawks sign Ernest Jones, 3 years, $33 million. They also get Jaron Reed, 3 years, $25 million, defensive tackle. And the Vikings re-up Aaron Jones, 2 years, $20 million. Boy, money flying around. The salary cap just continues to go up and up and up and up and up. Just keep going. These contracts are going to be silly by the time the Jets find a quarterback and need to sign him. Josh Allen get himself $55 million a year. I see Jay Burney asking, do the Jets get a comp pick for Adams? They do not, because the Jets released him. You only get comp picks for free agents. So if the contract, I believe if the contract voids, that does not count. And if you cut a player, it does not count. So if the Jets want to get the most comp picks possible for this whole offseason, we're going to need to sign players that were either cut or released. I guess it's sort of ish the same thing. Or sign players beyond, I think it's like middle of May or so, to not go against our comp pick formula. Now, I do think Reed and Conklin both have a decent shot of getting us some sort of comp pick, but it depends how much we go out and spend. If we go out and we get Javon Holland, we're spending a pretty penny. probably not going to get any compensation picks if I had to guess. So, going to be tough. Going to be tough. But guys, I want to go into my thoughts of where I think the Jets are going to go. But before I do, I just want to thank the sponsor of the video, Via. Life moves fast, and sometimes you just need a way to relax, recharge, or stay focused without making things more complicated than they already are. You ever try meditating, but then get stressed about how bad you are at meditating? Same. That's why I love Via, because they actually make feeling good easy. 500,000 happy customers can't be wrong. Via is changing the game in natural wellness, combining high-quality hemp-derived ingredients with powerful cannabinoids to create real, effect-driven results, not just fancy packaging and empty promises. Want better sleep, more focus, a little boost in the bedroom, or maybe you just need to chill out because your stress levels are currently at a screaming into the void status. Whatever you need, Via has a solution for you. And here's the best part. Via lets you customize your experience, whether you're looking for daily wellness, laser focus, or deep relaxation, aka the kind of chill that makes you one with your couch. Via has it with products ranging from 0 to high cannabinoid levels. They've got options for everyone. We're talking award-winning effect-forward gummies to calming drops, all made with organic, lab-tested hemp from trusted, independent American farms. None of that mystery, gas station nonsense. So if you're 21 and up, treat yourself to 15% off and get a free gift with your first order using my exclusive code JetsTalk at viahemp.com, plus free shipping on orders over $100. That's VIIAHEMP.com. Thank you so much for sponsoring the channel. Boys and girls, we got so much to get into, and I am excited to chop it up with you here tonight. Let's see, let's throw some comments on the screen. Camp Jack says, if Pittsburgh doesn't want Fields, why should we? Look, I think Fields doesn't want Pittsburgh. Fields went 4-2. They pulled him for Russell Wilson, and then when Russell Wilson started having the wheels fall off a little bit, they never went back to Justin Fields. Why would he want to go back there? I understand DK Metcalf and whatnot. Their coaching staff, far more stable. But it's a coaching staff that didn't believe in him. DK Metcalf, amazing wide receiver. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, very, very talented Pittsburgh Steelers team. That being said, I heard something today. I did not check the validity of this, but apparently Russell Wilson's wife introduced DK Metcalf to his wife, or girlfriend, or wife. I don't know what it is. So you would think the wives getting back together in Pittsburgh, there's probably something to it. I think Russell Wilson is going to stay in Seattle. Sorry, not Seattle. In Pittsburgh with DK Metcalf. And I think Justin Fields' runway is cleared for him to land with the New York Jets here. I think it's a great swing. I don't think it's going to cost us a whole heck of a lot of money. I'd love to see a 2-year contract done so that way we have at least a backup going into 2026 in the event, we're still looking for a quarterback or whatever, or Justin Fields could be the starter this year. If you want to pull a trigger on a quarterback in 2026, you still got someone that can hold the fort down before you move off of him at that point. I love the connection with Garrett Wilson. I love the connection with Jeremy Ruckert. I think Aaron Glenn, having game planned against Justin Fields for years while he was in Chicago, is going to have Justin Fields walk in and say, dude, you were impossible to try and game plan against. The stress you put on a defense is exactly what we want you to do here in New York. And I think with Breece Hall, Braylon Allen, and the rest of the crew here, you are going to put on an absolute clinic. He's going to sign on the dotted line, just going to get their quarterback nice and early in free agency, so that way we kind of know where everything else goes. That's my prediction. I do think that's how it's going to shake down. I'll give you guys all my predictions in just a little bit. I have my my tweet. If you guys haven't seen it, I'll pull it up. Moose City, thanks so much for the 10 spot, says, who are you hoping to get in free agency? Give me top 3. Mine are Holland, Fields, and Moses. So Moose City, you and I are in complete alignment. Now, I don't know if we're going to be able to get Morgan Moses back. He's testing free agency, and I think he's one of the better right tackles that are going to become available. So I hope Moses does come back. He would be like number 1 on my like re-sign list, but then everyone else falls in. Like that would be my top 3. Now, I did not have him in my post that I made. Let me pull up my, let's see, where is my list? I'm just going to pull it up on the screen so you guys can see it. All right. Probably should have had that prepped beforehand. I did not. All right. So here's what I'm thinking. You guys can let me know your thoughts. But I think we wind up with Justin Fields. I've been calling 𝐀𝐟𝐟𝐤𝐸 now for quite some time. I think Morgan Moses could wind up going somewhere else, somewhere where he has a chance to win a ring or something along those lines. So he may choose to not pick the Jets. 𝐀𝐟𝐟𝐤𝐸's injury prone the last 2 years, kind of underperformed a little bit. Getting thrown out with the bathwater touch, played 3 years at right tackle at Alabama, had 4 years, 5 years? I think it's 5 years. As left tackle in the NFL, so positional flexibility. I think at the very least, it gives you a baseline for where your right tackle play could be while also giving you a little bit of a backup to Olu on the left-hand side. I do want the Jets to address right tackle in the draft. In my mind, ideally, it's not the first round. If they went that route, I'm not going to be upset with it. But ideally, we're picking someone in the 3rd or 4th round that's going to be able to beat out 𝐀𝐟𝐟𝐤𝐸s. And if he can't, maybe 𝐀𝐟𝐟𝐤𝐸s, plays well. Same sort of thinking with Justin Fields. They're young enough to be your long-term starter at the position. So I like both these swings a lot in this particular year. Josh Palmer, really nice possession wide receiver from the Chargers. I think the Jets have been connected to him a bunch of times. I'm not really sure why in terms of coaching, if there was some sort of overlap at some point. I don't believe there has been. But with the Jets seemingly going to move off of Allen Lazard, I think Josh Palmer might be a nice addition for a possession-type wide receiver. Tim Patrick, really like him. When he's healthy. He missed 2 seasons. I think it was an ACL and an Achilles. I'm pretty sure were the 2 injuries. So he's going to come league minimum. You're not getting a whole lot. Realistically, I'm expecting these 2 wide receivers to be wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4. Malachi Corley, gadget guy. Hopefully he can crack into the top 3 wide receivers and he can be on the field consistently. I think both these players are just providing some kind of depth, and I would like to address who I'm hoping to be wide receiver 2 within the top 2, maybe 3 rounds of the draft. McMillan, you guys know, has been kind of the guy I'm hoping for at the number 7 pick. I've softened a little bit on that. I do like some of the second-round wide receivers that could become available to the Jets, and with the Jets getting that nice 20-pick bump in the 3rd round, going from pick, 92, 93, all the way up to 72, 73, whatever pick we are, it feels great. Jets have bonus capital. We didn't have to trade anything to go up. Now, all of a sudden, the sting of Davante Adams doesn't hurt quite as bad. Still hurts, but not quite as bad. Lots of thoughts here. Juwan Johnson, tight end from the Saints. We've been linked to, along with maybe 1 or 2 other tight ends. But I think the Jets are trying to get a receiving type threat tight end, and you're just trying to get a nice complement of weapons that you can rely on. I do think tight end and wide receiver, both highly, highly critical needs for the Jets that should be addressed very early on draft day. So that's this is like I don't want to say a placeholder offense, but you're not overly committing to anyone on this list. Justin Fields might be the only player that gets multiple years in terms of a contract. So I like this layout. Now, Holland, safety from the Dolphins. I love the idea of stealing someone from your division rival. It's going to bring a little extra juice 2 times a year. Jets haven't really invested highly in safety since, the drafting of Marcus May and Jamal Adams. Now, you can say they gave Marcus May the franchise tag, and that was a high contract at the time. I think it was $12 or $13 million. But that was not a commitment long-term to someone. Holland, this would be a commitment at 25, I think, years old. Really like that. Isaiah Oliver played for Wilkes in San Francisco. I think him staying here would be a solid move. Brandon Echols, I think we saw how an edge rush presence against the Eagles can make any cornerbacks look a lot better. You didn't have Reed, you didn't have Sauce that game. The Jets still found a way to get it done. I think Echols has earned a chance to have the opportunity to try and start. I also don't want to spend a crazy ton of money at the cornerback position knowing Sauce's contract is coming down the pipeline. I think for me, could Carlton Davis be a guy that comes in here because of his ties to Detroit? Absolutely. I could totally see it, but it just depends on how much money he's looking to get and how the Jets want to structure Sauce's contract eventually. Now technically Sauce has his 4th year and his 5th year still to go, so you could tack on his big money after that point while giving him a signing bonus now to get the money. But I don't know if I see them going after a top-end corner. Levi Onwuzurike. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that name right because I think he's definitely coming. Defensive tackle, had some nice success against the run. Jets clearly need help in that regard. Coming from Detroit as well, I think it makes a lot of sense. Zadarius Smith, I don't know if he's been released yet or they're just saying they're planning on releasing him, but edge rusher from the Lions, they traded a pick or two last year to bring him in. I think he had 9 sacks. I'm pretty sure. He's a little bit older, 32 years old, but this is someone that can create pressure, gives you a little bit of insurance for Jermaine Johnson, so you don't necessarily feel like you have to pull the trigger on an edge rusher really, really early. Ideally for me, Will McDonald and Jermaine Johnson are our long-term solutions at edge, and we could just find a guy, that's sort of stopgap, year over year or so, or find a guy in the middle rounds. I don't want to overly invest in that position, and I think these contracts are all going to be relatively affordable. Jets have, I think it's $55 million right now. Now, when they June 1st cut Rodgers, they'll get more money in June. And I think at that point, that's when you start to talk about restructuring Garrett Wilson, potentially Sauce Gardner. And that's where I'm feeling. That's you get these guys in the building, and all of a sudden you're rolling into the draft, best player available. I'm going like, you want to get McMillan? Cool. You want to get Membo or the tackle from Missouri? Good. Go. Great. Why not? Tyler Warren? Sure, if you want to make that pick. If you want to trade down and make one of those selections, love it. If you could add an extra second-round pick, that would be like right as rain. I think Justin Fields, Jordan Travis, and Tyrod Taylor is a nice little 3-quarterback room here. Kind of gives Jordan Travis an opportunity to maybe show what he has, even though I think that ship has probably sailed more likely than not. So that's my thinking on where I'm at right now. I guess I should probably, let's do this. Crop this down. Boom. Just put this right here. Shrink it a little bit. Boom. So you guys can see how I'm feeling. I want to get into your comments in the live chat. If you guys have a question, you can either throw in a super chat or you can drop a Q : and then your question, and then when I see it, I'll throw it up on screen like Mr. Connor Bruce did right here. Thank you so much, Connor, for throwing in the question. He goes, I think Justin Fields would be the worst option. The ceiling is a 10-7 season, losing in the first round. We then have to pay him a lot. Worst case, he sucks, which I would rather have Taylor. So I'm not going to claim that Justin Fields is going to have some sort of electric season. We're going to see like a better passing game than we had with Aaron Rodgers or anything like that. I understand the struggles he's had to date, and I'm hoping we can get some kind of Sam Darnold or Baker Mayfield-esque resurgence from him. That's the hope here. And it's kind of a placeholder while rolling the dice on an relatively inexpensive option, and then seeing if you can make it work before investing a lot of money into a quarterback by way of draft picks next year, or maybe via trade or free agency. I don't know who's going to be available outside of the draft, but you kind of go best player available, load the roster up with guys you want, and feel like you're in a spot where the rest of the roster can learn the offense this year, and then you plug in the quarterback next year. As far as the ceiling being 10-7, that great, cool. I'm like fine with that. If the Jets can find a way to like sneak into the playoffs, even if they get bounced the first round, like I'm cool with that for this year. I'd like to get that monkey off my back. I'm not expecting the Jets to have a playoff season, like at all. I'm thinking kind of like an 8-win season is probably realistically where I see us being. And even if Rodgers came back, that's probably where I would have, sort of penciled us in. So I understand the why people wouldn't want Justin Fields, but I think I'm on the boat of team entertain me for next year, and I think Fields would be just that. I also think his leadership style is very different than Rodgers. Rodgers is very public, the McAfee show and, kind of the sideways comments at the press conferences that you don't always love. Fields, I think Fields feels like he did not get a fair shake wherever he's been. He was 4-2 last year, didn't get the fair shake. He's going to come here for the Jets. The playmakers in Ruckert and Garrett are already going to have his back. I think it's going to allow Breece and Braylon and Isaiah Davis to really show out in the running game. I think the Jets are going to try and beat people into submission. And with the resigning of Sherwood, I think some additional defenders that are going to come in free agency, they're going to try and lump you up a little bit, kind of like Rex's first few years here. Not that I'm expecting anything crazy overall. Fields is going to Pittsburgh. Jets got played, says Oregon. Maybe. I don't think so, though. I think Russell Wilson's going to stay there. Everyone is excited for Fields. Who else are you excited for? Like, what other quarterback are you seeing for this year that you would be amped up for? That's where I'd like to. That's what I'd like to know. We're going to wake up tomorrow and it'll say Justin Fields signs to Jets for 2 years. I'm calling it. I've been saying it. You look at my first mock-off season. My mock-off season had, if Rodgers retires or he's not coming back or whatever, Justin Fields is my quarterback. Been saying that all offseason. Oreo, what are your expectations for Fields if we get him? Are we trying to win, lose, tank for quarterbacks in 2026? What happens if we finish in the middle of the pack? Do we re-sign Fields, move up? What's the plan? So I want to win as many games as possible next year. I do not care about draft position in the slightest, like at all. Win as many games as possible. If it screws you up your draft position, then hopefully Fields played well enough that you want to continue him being your quarterback. I do want to sign him for 2 years because I don't want to have the looming big contract. If he plays well and he wants to hold out and you want to work on a contract after that, fine, whatever. But I like getting him for a 2-year contract now because Tyrod Taylor's not under contract next year. So you're going to need some degree of backup potentially anyway, or competition for a rookie that you might draft in 2026. I would rather build the roster now and then move picks in 2026 to go up into the top 10 to go get a quarterback. I do think there's going to be about 5, similar to like last year, where we had a bunch of quarterbacks go early. I think there's going to be some team willing to trade out of the top 5. It may not be the number 1 slot. It may not be the number 2 or the number 3 slot. It might just be a top 10 pick that you get your guy. And I would be fine with that. MJ edits. Tomorrow is going to be a flurry. Don't be shocked if we see big names moving around tomorrow. Hyped up for sure. The big names always go first. That's always how it goes. It can't hurt. If he pans out, great. We got a running back. If not, we get our quarterback next year's draft. Yes. Have you heard how much Holland is going to cost? Jeremy Chin. It is. I don't know how much Holland is going to cost. I would assume top-end safety money, though. What is that, like almost $20 million or about $20 million? I'm hoping we're not really spending that much. I think 15 to 17 is where I would feel like comfortable, and that's a lot of money for a safety. We need a running quarterback to play in that shitty New Jersey weather. We will never have a high-powered air attack because of that weather. Look, I think the Jets could have a high-powered offense, but I do think having a quarterback that can just generate plays is totally fine. Rich, Ryan, that free agency list looks great. Seems like it would be very expensive. I don't think so. I think the only expensive one would be Holland. I really don't think Fields is going to cost a crazy ton. And I don't think anyone else is overly expensive on this list. Zadarius Smith at 32. I mean, maybe he commands more than I'm thinking. I don't think so, though. Can someone explain how much cap space the Jets have now that they cut Rodgers post June 1st? Adams, I see $50 million, but is that post June 1st or now? So the Jets have $50 million right now. After Rodgers is released and the money gets added in, it's going to be 70 some odd million. What's going to happen with all these signings? You're not if you get someone, let's just easy math here, say it's a 5-year, $50 million contract, $10 million per year. You're not actually paying that player a $10 million salary cap, or you're not getting hit with a $10 million salary cap for this year. It's usually like, oh, here's a $2 million hit for year 1, and then it steps up incrementally because that player year 1 is also getting a signing bonus. So if you're getting a whatever amount signing, let's call it a $15 million signing bonus. In year 1, you're getting your base salary plus your signing bonus. So it's really like a $17 million lump sum that you're getting right now, but the cap hit is much lower. So any signings you make are going to be lower outside of deals that are 1-year deals without void years. So I do think the Jets wind up being the beneficiary of some of that type of contract finagling. Cameron, what's up, dude? Says there are plenty of franchise quarterbacks in next year's draft. Wait for them. Fields is too much of an athlete. Who plays quarterback and not a quarterback who is an athlete like Lamar. I'd take Murray if we could get him. God, the Kyler Murray thing's an interesting one. If he winds up becoming available, he would definitely be the best option. I don't love that they had to write into his contract at one point that he needed to study. I don't know if New York is the best area for someone that might not be focused enough. But I think he would probably be the most talented quarterback we've seen play for the Jets for sure. Fields, to me, while I agree, I think he's probably more of an athlete that plays quarterback than a quarterback that plays athlete. But I think he's got the leadership skills of a quarterback. And Jalen Hurts has kind of, if he can be the quarterback that Jalen Hurts is, where he uses his legs, he uses his power, and he can make enough throws, I think that's all right. It's not necessarily a slam dunk, but that's sort of where I'm at. Moose City says, who's your ideal pick at number 7? Ideal pick, I keep saying McMillan. I put it this way. I would like to trade down. If you can trade down with someone who wants Ginty, the running back from Boise State, that would be my number 1 option. McMillan would be my first player that I'd take. Membo, the right tackle, would be my second player that I would try to target if McMillan's not available. Even though I don't want to spend a first-round pick on an offensive lineman, ideally, I think it's a special circumstance with how he performed at the Combine, how his tape looks overall, the fact that he is specifically a right tackle. It's not a left tackle moving to the right side. The other tackles all seem to be guards at the next level, so I could kind of wrap my head around this. Plus, the Lions built their whole offense up through their offensive line in the trenches and whatnot. The next player would be Tyler Warren. I think a playmaker or someone that can allow your playmakers to make plays is the biggest critical part that you need. Now, if the Jets wanted to make a move for a Mike Green, I'd be cool with that. If they pulled the trigger on a safety, I won't love it given some of the other options that are available in the first round. But I could see and understand why they might do that with the selection of Brian Branch a few years ago from the Lions. I don't know. I would say McMillan and Membo are my 2 guys right now. TJ, thank you so much for the super chat. Says, I feel like Fields gives us the best mix of floor and ceiling. He has the best, however small, chance to have a Geno Smith, Sam Darnold miracle, but the floor is also low enough where a top 5 pick isn't off the table. Yes, TJ, I completely agree. I'm totally fine with trying to be as competitive as possible with Fields. Hope that the upside can be there with a Geno or Sam-like resurgence. And if it's not, I think at the very least, it was a valid swing. It was an attempt to try and get, someone in here, short of trading for, Stafford, which I don't think was ever really in the cards for the Jets. What other quarterback would there be that would at least provide the optics of saying, hey, we're trying to find a long-term solution right now? Carson Wentz and Marcus Mariota are not that. Carr's going back to the Saints. There's no other quarterback in my mind that's out there right now that gives you the opportunity and hope that Fields provides. So I completely agree, TJ. And as far as the floor goes, yeah, look, if he stinks, we're going to get a top pick. And that's totally fine with me too. If we have to wait a year and maybe it's Tyrod Taylor that winds up playing and competing with Justin Fields, I mean, even if Tyrod plays, he's going to wind up getting hurt at some point and Fields will wind up coming in and playing. I'm okay. Team entertain me all damn day. Connor says, thoughts on trading down and maybe Tyler Warren. So yeah, I really like the idea of trading down in the draft. Trading down is my number 1 preference. And I'm not necessarily taking Tyler Warren in that trade down. I would still lean, if McMillan somehow got that far or Membo were that far, I would still take either one of those 2 before Tyler Warren. But I would be very happy with a Tyler Warren first-round selection if that wound up being the case. I think he's just a pure football player. I think he gives you the best of almost both worlds of a blocking, some blocking assistance that could be on the right-hand side, maybe with a Jedrick Wills or some rookie tackle that you're trying to help groom, might need a little bit of help, while also giving you the receiving threat that he is as well. So that's I like both of them. I like both aspects that he can bring to the offense. That's what I'm trying to say. Gavin, how do you feel about Will Campbell if he's available at number 7? I don't want Will Campbell. Mainly because I think he's a guard at the next level, and he strikes me a little bit of like an AVT type of situation where he played tackle, arms are a little short. I don't necessarily want to see that attempt. Like, I'd rather the playmaker, like, even if you want to, get 𝐒𝐿𝐵𝐿 at wide receiver, like, I would prefer that over Will Campbell in the first round. I'm not a big Will Campbell fan. I'm sure he would be good for another team. I just think for our specific needs, tackle is the biggest need. And I guess you can sort of convince me on AVT out to right tackle, and then Campbell slots in at guard. We're going to need guard help at some point. But Campbell, to me, is the type of player that I hope to find in the middle rounds, not so much in the first round. I'd rather get a different type of player. But good thoughts. What up, Tigo? The Lions got a high school coach to come out of retirement for the playoffs just so Hooker wouldn't play. Talking about Teddy Bridgewater. Henry, do you remember me raving over Brian Thomas Jr. pre-draft last year multiple times? My guy this draft is safety Nick Manwari out of South Carolina. Trade up to the early second if he falls. Yes, I would really like him at safety if the Jets can find a way to make that happen. Tigo and I were talking about him last week on the Monday show. I do think he's going to end up going in the first round. I think he stood out enough at the combine that people are going to take another look at him, and he will go higher than I think the Jets are going to have an opportunity at. If he's there in the second round, like let's say the Jets go, it'd be a little weird for me if we wound up going like tackle in the first round, then safety in the second round, and then third round is where you're hoping to get a receiver or a tight end, because I think weapon is such a big need. But I would not be upset if we wound up with this dude in the safety room, especially if you got Holland in free agency as well. As far as Brian Thomas Jr., Tigo was really big on Brian Thomas Jr. last year. I was really big on him because of Tigo. Tigo was the one that put me onto him initially, and I don't know if there's a receiver in this class that I would put above Brian Thomas Jr. and the other wide receivers that wound up going. Like, I think, to me, McMillan is really good, but he's probably would have been, wide receiver, what was he, 4, 5 in last year's draft. So, I don't know. Kevin wants McMillan at 7, sign Palmer. I like the idea of Palmer. Bates just re-signed in Washington. I did not know that. Interesting. Yeti says, hey, Ryan, I said no to the poll. He might just end up being our best option unless we trade down and get McCord. If we're going to take a quarterback in this draft, McCord's the guy that I kind of want to take. So there's 2 guys, right? It's McCord and it's Milroe. I'm going to get shit for this because people do not like Milroe because of his arm, and people don't like McCord because of his legs. So, like, if you could combine both of them, they'd have a perfect quarterback. But I think if we get Fields, based on the Fields, Tyrod, even Travis right now, and the conversations we had with Milroe at the Combine, and the mentality that I believe Milroe is very Saban-esque, which is also Belichick-esque, which is also very Parcellian in my book. So I think there is a little bit of merit to the Milroe potential conversation, especially if you sign Fields to a 2-year deal and you wanted to have Milroe sit for a little bit. But that's something I would want to take a swing on if he made it to the 3rd round. I don't really want to use a top 2-round pick on a quarterback. 3rd, 4th round is where I'm okay going with a quarterback, and hopefully that quarterback can be your long-term backup at the minimum, with the potential of being your starter, post Fields. But you got a year to kind of operate and look at him behind the scenes and see if there's anything there before you invest heavily in a quarterback in 2026, in my opinion. I think Tim Patrick goes with Ben Johnson to Chicago. They need a number 3 wide receiver. I think that's entirely possible. I think it's also possible that he wants to follow Engstrand. Clearly Muji was in Denver when they got him there. Glenn and the offensive staff that we have here were in Detroit as well. So there's just a lot of overlap. I think I could see him go, but that's okay. Robert says, Justin Fields is overrated. I don't want him. The Jets should trade up and get Hooker as a backup to start for the first half of the season since he knows Aaron Glenn. I completely disagree. I do not want to trade up for a quarterback at all. And I don't particularly want Hendon Hooker. If they trade for Hendon Hooker, then I guess it means they have some faith in him, which I'll give him a chance at that point. But I do not want him right now. Logan says, Will Johnson, we need to have the best cornerback and linebacker duo in the league. Look, Sherwood and Quincy is going to be really interesting. I think Quincy's going to wind up asking for some additional money because he's on a very, very team-friendly deal right now, and Sherwood just got paid. If I were the Jets, I would go to Quincy and I would say, hey, Quincy, let's make your contract, have escalators that are, you hit some baseline numbers, whatever those numbers wind up being. And you hit your incentives, you're going to get paid just like Sherwood is. We value you, the same, and let's work on a contract throughout the course of this year and see what we can come to. I think now that we signed Sherwood for 3 years, $15 million a year, I don't know what that means for Quincy's long-term future here. Does give me some concern. Chrome says, Fields does not give us the best chance to win, Ryan. Chrome, who does? That's what I'm asking. Just let me know who you think does. Logan, Ryan, if you had to decide to bring back one player at wide receiver, who would you rather choose right now, Robbie Anderson or Denzel Mims? I guess I don't really like either one. I guess Robbie probably. Denzel Mims has a little soft spot in my heart, but from the people I know that were in the building with Denzel Mims, they said he was softer than baby shit. He would get hit on the field and he'd come off and he'd be mumbling under his breath. So I don't think he's really a football player. I think he's just kind of soft. Robbie, I think, is dumb as rocks. He really doesn't come off like a very, I don't know. He seems like he's very much a just go fast in a straight line kind of guy, which is fine. I think that's something the Jets offense is sorely lacking right now. So if you wanted to bring him in, I would understand. I just don't know if he's done anything in the league the last bunch of years that would be, worthy of either player coming in here. Eric, thank you so much for the super chat. Olu is still pretty raw left tackle. Would add a vet backup thoughts, or should add a vet backup thoughts. So Jedrick Wills, I have him mentioned here for right tackle and over on my topics list over there. He's played left tackle in the NFL. I think that's a baseline level of play you get as insurance for Olu. And he played 3 years at right tackle at Alabama and wound up being drafted in the top 10 of the draft. So to me, I think that is a worthwhile enough swing where he could potentially be your long-term future at right tackle. Now in the third round, if I could have my top 3 picks, ideally be, I think I would want, a trade down for Warren would be really nice. But let's say it's McMillan. I guess I'm just going to go off my original mock offseason. I'm just going to stick to my guns, right? McMillan at 7, Harold Fannin Jr. in the second round, and then Ozzie Trapillo, the right tackle out of Boston College, I really like. But, I don't know. I'd like to see a mid-round tackle come in addition to that backup there. Ryan, do you think it comes down to money with Fields? No, I don't. I think the offers will all be about the same. Unless someone's really going to blow the doors off Fields, I think the Jets are the most appealing location for him. Relationship with both Ruckert and Garrett, and then also the clearest runway to be starting this year, and all the lights are going to be on us. You're going to have a lot of opportunities being the Jets quarterback. You're going to be under a microscope, and that, you're either going to crack and break or you're going to turn into a diamond. So I think he's ultimately going to choose here. Season is over without signing Fields tomorrow. If we don't sign Fields tomorrow, we're probably going to go after someone like Mariota or Wentz, realistically. They're going to compete with Tyrod, and you're going to have a very baseline level season, which is not entertaining at all. And And I would say they add a mid-round rookie quarterback like a McCord to give the Jets fan base a little bit of hope that you might see him. But not enough of an investment to take away quarterback in 2026. And I'm not going to say season's over because I want to win as many games as possible with or without Fields as the quarterback. I just think he's the most fun. I really do. Fun guy. Ryan, did you see Carlton Davis interest the Jets have? I did see that. I think a lot of that just has to do with the Jets, Aaron Glenn being, from Detroit. Davis obviously there right now, going to be a free agent. And the Jets needing a cornerback opposite Sauce. Now, I don't really want to invest a lot of money. Like my stance on Reed was let him walk. He's earned himself a payday. Let him go elsewhere. I think Davis, if he's looking for a similar payday to Reed, I don't particularly want that. I don't want to say I don't want that caliber of corner, but I don't want to spend that much money on corner when I want to invest in Sauce long term. So I don't particularly want to see that. John says, I would take Fields on a short deal, but I feel like Tyrod Taylor is good enough to be our bridge quarterback either way. If the Jets aren't going to trade up, I'm taking Jackson Dart at 7. Oh, man, I don't want to do that. I don't want Jackson Dart at 7. If they make that connection and they're like, hey, this is our guy, like, so be it. The quarterback position is just so friggin' important that, like, I understand the necessity of going quarterback. I don't think Dart's the one I want to, hitch my wagon to right now. Is Carlton Davis our cornerback 2 tomorrow? I don't think so. If we're going secondary, I'd prefer it to be at safety than at corner. Robert, I'm 55 years old, been a fan for 44 years, so I know the Jets' history. And Aaron Glenn and Hendon Hooker know each other, so it makes sense and would be cheaper. Yeah, but I don't know if that necessarily means he wants him here. Like, if he knows him and wants him here, that means something. If he knows him and doesn't want him here, that also means something. I think it's a little more telling then. If we take a quarterback in the second round this year, we will not be taking a quarterback in the first round next year. I would just rather wait. Yeah, I don't want quarterback in the second round. Third round, fourth round is feeling a little bit better. And honestly, if I'm in an ideal world, the fourth round is my ideal spot. Like, let's sit and wait and see who's there. To me, I'd prefer our top 3 picks to definitely be competing for starting roles. And wide receiver, tight end, tackle, or safety would kind of accomplish any one of those. You could throw a linebacker in that mix too. Defensive tackle could also be in there. I want impact players though. Quarterback in the second round, I guess it depends how you finish, right? And how that quarterback looks. If you get a Jimmy Clausen situation where you're like, oh wow, we really like, this quarterback that we took in the second round, and he's going to get a lot of snaps. Like, let's say they go with, I don't know. Let's say they went with Milroe, just as an example, in the second round, and they're so bad they get the number 1 overall pick next year, and Arch Manning is sitting there. They're going to move on from Milroe at that point, or I would hope they would. But yeah, I agree. I think if you take a quarterback in the second round, you're probably less likely to take one the following year, and I would rather keep my eye on the game for next year while taking our backup in the mid rounds this year. Anthony, could argue we should have drafted him at number 2 in 2021, Justin Fields. Honestly, after the Clemson-Ohio State game, I thought Fields was going to be our quarterback. Clearly, I think at that point we had known we're not the number 1 pick, so Trevor Lawrence was off the table at that point. But, Fields is gutsy. He's the type of quarterback that other players play hard for. There's just some intrinsic leadership aspect about him, and I can't wrap my head fully around it. But, you watch him, and, the guys love him. He's just a football player. And, look, I get people are going to say, well, he's not, he's an athlete, not so much a quarterback. But, man, that's the type of little block of clay I would like to take a gamble on. We took Stephen Hill to run in a straight line fast. We never asked if he could catch. Yeah, he came out of what was it? It wasn't Georgia Tech, was it? Georgia Tech? No, I think it might have been Georgia Tech. I might have that wrong, but he came out of a heavy run offense, and like had a very, very low amount of catches in college. Not a smart draft pick. Great first game against Buffalo. Not very good after that. Ian says Fields is a gamer. Give him a competent offensive line, and he'll be better than 5-12 Rodgers-led team. Yeah, I agree. I do. What do you think about Kirk Cousins on a cheap deal? If you don't get Fields, like I'm open to the idea of Kirk, but like at the same time, we just kind of got off the Rodgers thing. Like I'd almost like be all right with Kirk going elsewhere. I think Kirk's more likely to go to San Francisco on a cheap deal because I think he might be able to play good backup, and then if something doesn't go right with Purdy, he can step in there. I don't know. I don't think Kirk's coming to New York. What about Jameis Winston? I mean, he would be fun. If the Jets don't get Fields, I'm fine with Jameis Winston. I really enjoy watching Winston play. I don't think he's like the future or anything, but like he's entertainment value. I'll give him that. Anthony D. Ryan, I heard the same thing about Josh Allen coming out. Are we talking about Milrow? I think we're talking about Milrow. Josh Allen was super raw. Kuiper had him at number 1 overall. I remember that mock draft, and I remember him being very, very high on Josh Allen coming out. I didn't feel like the Jets had the coaching staff here to be able to get the most out of him or Lamar. Lamar, I thought, was hands down like the biggest boom or bust prospect in that draft. I didn't think he would fall all the way to 32, nor did I necessarily want the Jets to take him at number 3. I was hoping Baker would be our guy, or I thought Baker would be our guy with Sam going 1. I liked getting Sam at 3. I don't know. Turbo, Zadarius Smith would be such a good ad. He really would. And I don't think he's going to cost a crazy ton. Let me see if Over the Cap has any kind of projection on what his contract would be. Zadarius Smith. Yeah, they don't have a... I guess he has been released now, right? Yeah, terminated. Let me see if I can see. Average per year, it looks like across all his contracts, he's been getting about $11 million a year. What did he get last year? He really has been. His cap hits the last few years haven't been bad. It's hard to kind of gauge where his money's been. But like, so he signed with the Packers. Let's go back to 2020. He has a $17.2 million cap hit, 14.6, $3 million, $3 million. And then he got traded last year. So I don't know if that's his full cap hit. They say 600,000, but that can't be right. I don't think. Maybe it was that was his cap hit for the Lions because he was on a vet minimum contract with the Browns, I believe. So yeah, if you can get him for relatively cheap, I think that's a home run. I really do. Let's see what else we got going on. Ryan, you think we take Warren at 7? Because I'm thinking pass catcher. He wouldn't be my first pick at 7. I think I've said this before. I would like to trade down. If you can't trade down, I think McMillan would be my preferred route. I like more tight ends than I like wide receivers in this class. If they pull the trigger on Warren at 7, entertainment value wise, it'd be great because the Bowers boys are probably going to be like losing their friggin' mind. And I think Warren's a good football player. I really do. I don't really want him to be the pick at 7. I'd rather trade down and get him at like 12 or 14. Ablab, what's good, dude? Thank you so much for the 20 spot. He says, gang, how much stock are the Jets brass putting on Garrett's appraisal of Fields? Also, thoughts on Travis. So I do think if there hasn't, I think there should be a conversation with Garrett saying, hey, like, you're in our long-term future. We want you here long-term. You know, we're working on getting the contract done. After June 2nd, we're going to revisit it because that's when we get more of our money. Let's try to build the best team we can now. We want you to help recruit guys for us. We think Fields could be an option for us long-term. I think a prove-it deal would be just what the doctor ordered, give him an opportunity to shine, and then, you know, you can decide at that point if Fields is our guy that you want to link up long-term with us. Because I think Garrett might also want to feel out before signing a big contract, like feel out this regime and how everything's going to play out before inking like a massive deal. Because then he's kind of like, I don't want to say he's stuck here, but he's going to get his money wherever he's going to get his money. But I do think they're leaning heavily on his thoughts on Fields. I think Ruckert, I think anyone who played with him, there's going to be insight and tips and things that have come up for conversation. I think you put all their heads together. I think Aaron Glenn being the defensive coordinator that had to go against Justin Fields while he was in Chicago is a big part of this whole equation as well. Now, I don't know how much emphasis they would have put on Justin Fields when drafting in Detroit, because they obviously took Penei Sewell. But I would think they would have done some research on the quarterbacks because they had Jared Goff. It wasn't like a set in stone thing that they were like locked in long term with him at that particular point. So I like Fields. I think it's a good swing. I think the team is ready for him. I think he would fit well in this city. I think he's gritty. He fits a New York kind of personality. And he's someone I want to root for, honestly. I really do. As far as thoughts on Jordan Travis, going back to last year, I wanted the Jets to draft Jordan Travis. I thought it was a really good swing at a quarterback that can sit for 2 years behind Aaron Rodgers. Not in my wildest dreams did I believe Aaron Rodgers would be done after this past season. I think because of that and because of the regime change, I think it is very unlikely that Jordan Travis is here in any meaningful capacity. I think there's a really good shot the Jets do bring in Fields. You got Tyrod Taylor. I think there's a good shot they draft a quarterback in the mid-rounds. Maybe there's a situation where you go into training camp and you say, hey, Tyrod, we know what you are. You're not going to play a whole lot. We want to see Fields. We want to see Travis. We want to see the rookie. And it's those three. And then I think ultimately Jordan Travis would be the odd man out. I'm not even so sure he gets a practice squad spot. Now, I would really like to see him play and get a fair shake out of it. But I think his agent may be talking a little poorly about the Jets and him taking the Jets off of social media. I think that's a little bit of ticky-tacky stuff I don't know if the Jets are really going to love. So my gut feeling is Jordan Travis is not going to be on this team. And it's a little disappointing because of where I felt he could be. Not necessarily this year, but, in 2026 after another year of Aaron. I don't know. It sucks. It really sucks. But I'm not going to lose too much sleep over him. Like, I'm not going to hang my future, or I'm not going to hold my future up if I feel like there's a quarterback out there because Jordan Travis is here. Like, I don't want it to be like a Christian Hackenberg sort of situation. Not that I think he's Hackenberg, but from the standpoint of having a backup quarterback that you drafted the year prior that hadn't had an opportunity to play and you passed on Mahomes and Watson, go get the quarterback if you can get the quarterback is mainly what I'm trying to say. And I like Fields. I do. Scar Cities. There's no reason why Lions would trade Hooker. Whatever they'd be willing to accept in a trade for him would be too much. Maybe, right? I mean, didn't they just re-sign Goff? Was it last year? Yeah, I don't know. The Hooker thing kind of has me questioning the thoughts on what they're planning to do. He's also a little bit older too. Send this doesn't throw the prettiest. I think he's saying Fields doesn't throw the prettiest ball, but he's accurate. And in this league, the best quarterbacks are the ones who are the most accurate. Look, I think he can also extend plays, and I think just being able to create yardage out of nothing is big. He can't be taking deep sacks or turning the ball over. I think he fumbled a pretty good amount of times, if I'm not mistaken, and a lot of those wound up getting recovered by the offense. So that could be a problem that we wind up dealing with. But at the very least, I really, really like it. Jake says, I was biggest Sauce lover next to Ryan pre-draft. I don't know how much money I want to give him after last season. I mean, realistically, Sauce is going to reset the cornerback market. He's got 2 All-Pros already. Whatever the top cornerback contract is, just fill it out and just write Sauce's name next to it. I think he's the easiest contract. I would understand, and Sauce has also been tweeting a little bit of why is the money so much different from edge rushers and wide receivers to cornerbacks. And I mean, honestly, we saw the value of an edge rusher when Sauce and Reed were out against the Eagles. You saw it with the Eagles in the Super Bowl. The Eagles got, a ton of pressure on Patrick Mahomes with 4 down linemen. And it almost doesn't matter who your cornerbacks are at that point because you're going to get poorly thrown balls. If you get to the quarterback fast enough, the corners don't really matter all that much. So in my head, I'm almost talking myself out of paying Sauce, but I think Sauce is the type of mentality and person you want to build your team and culture around and really give your team an identity. I think him being a corner and Aaron Glenn being a former NFL corner, I think there's going to be like a symbiotic relationship, and I think they are going to end up, you know, locking it in and being just fine. Auteur says paying Tyrod and Justin $22 million plus seems a little sketchy, but I get it. All right, now I got to see, what is Tyrod Taylor making? Do I just not know what Tyrod's getting? Tyrod Taylor is getting paid $6 million next year. So I guess you're thinking that Fields is going to get 16 plus million next year. Let me see. Valuation. I mean, over the cap values him this past year at $6.6 million. Although, sorry, for the portion that he played, I guess I should throw this on the screen because this is kind of important here. All right. If this winds up being the contract, like value-wise, like that's a lot of money that I don't necessarily endorse. But so this is the valuation from over the cap of Justin Fields. The blue dots are the games that he played in, and the value that he gave to the Steelers during those games. So, like, you could see they're averaging, what do you want to average that, about $33 million for that stretch? I don't really want to pay Justin Fields $33 million, I'll be honest. I don't think there's going to be a team out there that's going to do that. Now, I'm pretty sure, didn't he sign as a free agent last year, or was he traded? I guess he was probably traded. That was his 4th year. Man, I don't know. I really don't want to pay Justin Fields $30 million. I hope that's not how that shakes out. I would be a little upset at that. I don't think Justin Fields is going to cost a crazy ton, but I don't know. Jets Worldwide, thoughts on trading for Pitts? I don't really want to trade for Pitts, I'll be honest. I'd rather draft a tight end with the pick you'd give up for Pitts. Unless Pitts is just like wildly cheap. Like DK went for a 2nd. Can you get Pitts for like a 5th? Probably not. He's going to be a little bit more than that. Is Mike White a free agent? He was the real deal. Honestly, I have no idea. I'm not sure. Why are we so worried about Fields when he's done nothing so far? Look, I'm not going to like go nuts over not getting Justin Fields. He's just the one that I do hope we end up with. Aaron Rodgers still on the Jets. What is going to happen with him? Are we trading him or cutting him soon? We're going to cut him. That's what's going to happen. We're not going to, we've already tipped our hand. I mean, short of like the Seahawks giving us like a conditional 7th round pick or something like that, I really don't see any way the Jets are going to be able to move Aaron Rodgers. I think like I said, they've tipped their hand already. Garrett will have 50 receiving yards a game with Fields because Fields averages 156 passing yards a game. Look, if Garrett is happy with that, I'm fine. Just get me to next year. Get me to 2026 draft, and then we're drafting a quarterback. Hopefully Fields can be good. I don't know. Rodgers was a big reason Brees struggled. No denying that. I agree. I think it was also the blocking scheme and the play calling. I don't think it was just Rodgers. Brees looked very hesitant running the ball, and I don't know if that's just because he didn't understand what was going on with like whatever Aaron was doing at the line, or if it was the blocking scheme changed that made him feel uncomfortable. But Brees definitely felt like he was not himself last year. Jet Dog Ryan, thoughts on Will Campbell, offensive tackle from LSU? He could be a Pro Bowl tackle if he kicks. He could be a Pro Bowl tackle if he kicks inside an All-Pro guard. I don't want to draft him at 7. I don't. I would rather take a tackle at 7. His arm length concerns me. I know he has a monster speed. I think it was him and Membo that both ran really fast at the combine. Membo? I think it's Membo. I would prefer him over Campbell, if I'm being honest. Having Tim Patrick would help Brees with blocking as well. I agree. I think Tim Patrick is a very cheap option to help out this team. I think he's going to be like a good wide receiver 3 or 4 without breaking the bank. This whole Jordan Travis thing is so stupid. You were the 171st pick and have never played a snap in the NFL. Yeah, him taking the Jets off of social media just feels like super weird. Not to mention, like, the whole point of him being a redshirt year last year was for him not to play. So I don't understand how the Jets could have potentially pushed him in any direction. Tigo says the hooker people is wild. They asked Teddy to come out of retirement to play so they wouldn't have to play hooker. Yeah, that's not a great indictment. And I might have to say I'm sorry to Tigo if Aaron Rodgers winds up being a Seahawk at some point. I laughed at him initially. MJ, with the recent trade and signing of DK to the Steelers, are the Steelers working on a deal with Fields? I don't know. I guess it's certainly possible. I feel like from the things I saw on Twitter, Russell Wilson's wife introduced DK to his wife. So is there some sort of relationship between the two of them? And now obviously, Russ potentially going back. I think I see Russ staying in Pittsburgh more than I see Fields staying in Pittsburgh. Matt, do you think the Jets have a legit shot at Holland, and how would you feel about the signing? I think the Jets do. I think maybe him feeling slighted by not getting money from Miami would be enough to, like, hey, I'm going to go to a division rival. We see that kind of all the time. I think the Jets would be more likely to spend some money on a safety. Now, where does that ultimately end up? I got to see. Let's see where Holland's expected value is supposed to be. According to Over the Cap, so he did not have a great season last year. They're saying from a value-wise, it was like $2 million, but he's going to get a lot more than that. His valuation, similar to Fields, I guess I'll just show this on the screen. This is like kind of a cool thing that Over the Cap does, and I don't know if this is based on like some degree of like Pro Football Focus grading per week based on the money and dollars and cents and stuff, but somehow they determine valuation on a per week basis based on finances, and this is Javon Holland's line last year. So you're probably looking towards the higher end of this. I would think, it's got to be north of $10 million. Like last year was considered a down year for him. So I'd be a little surprised if he didn't get a pretty high contract. I guess I could look at Spot Track too. Let's see what Spot Track has him at. Lots of Hollands. Because he does all the different sports. I guess I should type in Javon Holland. Is he really not showing up on this list here? Oh, no, there he is. All right. Market value, they're saying $15 million a year over on Spot Track. So 4 years, $60 million is what they're projecting him over on Spot Track. I would sign him to that. I think that's fine. I think $12 to $15 million is where I would prefer a safety be. If I'm being honest, I don't really want to spend like wild money on one. Ryan, you're basically sacrificing this season and hoping for a Doug Flutie Flake story before your time. I loved watching Flutie. I am not a very tall person. I'm 5'9" on a good day. I shouldn't say on a good day. I'm like spot on 5'9". I can't even lie about it. And Flutie, obviously very small. Crabette, another very small wide receiver. I had my Crabette crunch for a long time. Flutie Flakes, I like me some Flutie. So I don't say it's before my time. I'm gonna be 36 this year. A little older than some of the other dudes on YouTube here. Can you give me your thoughts on Breece? I know you've been seeing my comments. I really like Breece. I'm a big Breece Hall fan. I would, in my mind, I am at the bare minimum franchise tagging him next year. I would be open to a contract extension after this season. But I would, at the very minimum, franchise tag him after this season. Lawyer Up says, I like Fields, but I don't understand why get Fields if we have Tyrod. Tyrod is a better, more experienced version because Tyrod's like 36 years old. Fields is, 26 or 27 years old. He could still be the future at the position, and the relationship to Ruckert and to Garrett Wilson, more importantly, is very important. And I also think Fields, having played in Chicago, gone against Aaron Glenn's defense, Aaron Glenn had to game plan against Justin Fields. I think he'll have an interesting insight into who Justin Fields is. So I would be on board with this. Does signing or not signing Fields impact drafting a quarterback? No, I think if you like a quarterback enough, Justin Fields should not be the reason you don't draft someone. I think if you are unsure of quarterback and you potentially would like one in the mid rounds, but you don't want to feel compelled to take them higher than you want, Fields is a good signing. And it allows you to sit back and get the guy you might want in the mid rounds. And then you can see how all the quarterbacks do throughout the course of the season, and it doesn't preclude you from taking a quarterback in 2026. So I like this. I would like this move a lot. I really hope this is how it goes. Cam Hill says, I love Jaden Higgins in the second round. Would compliment Garrett immensely. Yes, Higgins would be the second round wide receiver that I would really like to take a look at. Jet Fans 4 says, Jet fans are really dumb for wanting Fields, honestly. If you think Garrett Wilson will be happy with a guy that can't throw more than 160 yards in a game, you're smoking that stuff. What other quarterback do you think he would want here? I feel like having your college quarterback that led you to so much success in college gives you the mindset of like wanting to play with this dude. I think Garrett's a winner more than he is about stat padding. I mean, I'm sure he wants to get his numbers, but at the same time, like, he's going to get fed the ball. Like, Garrett Wilson's going to have a ton of yards next year. He should have 1,000 yards next season as well. Willie says, I'm smelling an eventual lawsuit by Travis. Maybe. It's happened a few years with players on this team. Kyle says, do you think Brees will be better next year? He has gotten a lot slower. I don't think he's gotten slower. I think he became more, I think he had to think too much last year as opposed to like react. There were a lot of plays with Zach Wilson where it was broken down and he had like more space. And when the ball got to him, he was just able to like a gazelle 2 years ago. Last year with Aaron, I don't get the sense that the blocking was the same. And I don't get the sense the play calling was the same. And I think that hurt Brees from that perspective. Regal the Pup says, so many people thought Jordan Travis was the second coming of Christ. Now he deletes the Jets off his social media, and people were like, who does he think he is? Look, to me, the Jordan Travis thing was a great swing at a quarterback to sit behind Rodgers for 2 years. Clearly, Rodgers not here now. New regime's in here. It sucks, and like I would like to see Jordan Travis and hope that he could be something, but I wouldn't pass on like a Kyle McCord or a quarterback in the mid rounds that this regime likes in hopes that a guy that hasn't played quarterback in 2 years is going to pan out to at least be a backup. Like I'd rather take someone with a little higher upside at this point that this regime likes. Drew says, no way Fields stays in Pittsburgh after being benched when he was playing decently. Not to mention, like, when Russell Wilson was not playing decently, he was not tapped on the shoulder to go back in. So to me, that is a problem. And the idiots here want Fields because there is nobody else. Yeah, that's part of it. 100% that's part of it. Like, you could sell me on Winston for a year. Like, I feel like any quarterback you're getting for this year is a stopgap, and I'd rather the stopgap that could potentially have the Geno or Sam turnaround that could be the long-term answer than just the stopgap. Right? Like, if I told you I could give you a lottery ticket that's 100% chance of losing, or a lottery ticket that you might win something on, are you going to take the 100% losing one, or are you going to take the one that you might win something on? Like, realistically, you want the one that's like, okay, well, I'm going to take the one that's guaranteed, and, it could be a loser, but I know the other one definitely is a loser, which is what Mariota and Wentz is. In my mind, at least. Dominic, how do you feel about Wentz? I think he still has some in the tank. I think there's a reason why Wentz was sent packing from multiple teams in like a 4-year stretch. I think he's a douche in the locker room more than likely, and that's without knowing anything that's going on. I think the Nick Foles winning a Super Bowl in Philadelphia thing really broke him. Could he have something in the tank? Sure, I think it's possible. I don't think he's any sort of long-term, answer at all at this point. I think someone would have gotten something out of him prior to us. If we lose out on Fields and we roll the dice on Wentz, that's fine. I think at the very least, he provides you, a guy that had been in the MVP conversation, 5 years ago, 6 years ago. But I'm not holding out a ton of hope for him to be the guy. Holland is forever in Jets history with the failed Mary. Yeah, the failed Mary was not very good, and that was just, I was like, I wanted to throw things at my TV when that happened. It sucked. If these are the guys Jets add on offense, 4-win season incoming. I mean, I don't think the Jets are adding anyone high-powered in free agency on offense. That doesn't strike me as that. I also think Garrett and Brees and Braylon are 3 like high-powered offensive pieces we already have, and I think adding a wide receiver and a tight end in the draft is far more valuable than going after an overpriced wide receiver and have to overpay to bring him here because we don't have a quarterback. Like, I think you have to go bargain hunting in this free agents class until you get a quarterback. Like, the same reason I don't think we were in on DK, because 1, we want to pay Garrett, and 2, we don't have a quarterback here. I think once you get the quarterback, then you make the big press for a wide receiver like a DK Metcalf or like a Tyreek Hill or like a Diggs, someone like that. I don't see the issue in going with this particular free agent class. Buffalo Jet fan had a really good comment. He said, I want a bunch of signings like John Simpson. Lower cost with a lot of upside. That's what this free agent class is, in my mind, outside of Holland. Holland would be the expensive one on this list. MJ edits, I'm tempted to get Warren with that 7th pick. I'm not going to be upset with it. I like more tight ends than wide receivers, though, so I don't really want to go tight end at 7 if I'm being honest. Wild Wave, I wonder what Seattle has going on. Are they prepared to trade up in the draft? I think they're prepared to have a very painful season this year. I mean, maybe they try to sell tickets and they go after like an Aaron Rodgers or like a low-end kind of starter for a season, but they might be punting on 2025 to have a better draft pick in 2026. Unless they're like, could I see them going all in on a quarterback? I don't know if they have the horses in the stable to get up that high. Aren't they like, what pick are they? I think they're in the 20s. 18. So pick 18 you're probably talking about coming at least up to 7, probably 5. Like, unless they're feeling Jackson Dart. Jackson Dart at 18 wouldn't be terrible. Milroe at 18 wouldn't be terrible if they wanted to move that route. Like, they could sit and take a quarterback this year if they wanted to, but I think it's more likely they kind of punt on a season and then get a guy in 2026. Sort of like what at least what I'm thinking for our Jets. Infrared. Why sign Justin Fields? This is not an all-in year. This is Coach Glenn's first year out of a 5-year contract. Save the money and have Taylor earn his $12 million this year. He's only getting $6 million this year, Tyrod Taylor. And as far as all-in year, I guess it depends on how much you think Fields is getting. I was not of the belief that Justin Fields is going to get like a lot of money, but maybe I'm wrong. I think at the very most, you're looking at like, what did Sam get this year? I don't think I could see a Sam Darnold level contract. I think Sam was like $10 million. Sam was $5 million this past year. He signed a 1-year, $4.5 million. No, that's with the 49ers. What did he? Yeah, he was on a 1-year, $10 million deal this past year. Like, I could totally see Fields on like a 2-year, $20 million deal. Or like even just a 1-year, $10 million deal. I think that's how you kind of structure it. You say, hey, look, 1 year, $10 million. Or you make it like bananas crazy. And you say like, hey, year 2 is like $40 million. which is insane. Like you're going to say, hey, we're going to pay you $10 million for 2025. We're going to pay you $40 million for 2026, which indicates we're either going to restructure your contract and give you a long-term deal after this season, or we're going to be forced to cut you because we're not paying you $40 million because you didn't perform to $40 million. I think that's the type of contract you could wind up seeing from Tyrod. It's almost the kind of contract that like we inherited from the Raiders with Davante Adams, where we had him on a cheap deal for this season because of the trade, but we knew his cap hit was going up to $36 million. So it's like, okay, we're either going to re-sign him on a longer-term deal, which the Jets were never going to do, or we're going to cut him and release him. So if you think of it that way, I think that could be how you see his contract go. So it might be like, oh, man, the Jets signed him for 2 years, $50 million. They're giving him $25 million a year. This is insane. But then you'll wind up seeing the contract, and it's like, oh, it's actually, not that. So I don't know. Logan, would it be dumb to sign Fields and draft Milroe in the later rounds? If Milroe is there in the third, I would take Milroe in the third round. I really would. I like him more than I think a lot of other people like him. And if you could have him sit for a year or two behind Fields, I think that's fine. Because at the very least, if you're taking a quarterback in the third round, that could be a long-term backup quarterback, but has the high-end ability to be a starter. And I think there's a lot less pressure. I think there's also a situation where you could have Milroe and Fields on the field at the same time. I think that both of them have such a running ability to them, and the throwing ability, and the monster arms. Like, both of them have strong arms. I think there's a reason why the Jets were talking to Milroe on the sidelines at the Combine and are also seemingly targeting Fields. I think that's the style of quarterback play they're gunning for. I really do. Flight Boy says Sam to Seattle is a done deal. That would be interesting. I've heard they're going to go after Sam. I've heard the Steelers are going to try and make an offer for Sam. I've heard, the Giants could potentially go after Sam. I don't know. I could see Kirk end up with the Giants maybe as like a stopgap. Sam to Seattle would make some sense. They could pay him a nice contract now and then, could still in theory draft a quarterback. I wonder how much Sam gets. That's the part that I really don't know. David says, sign Fields. He's the next Darnold, Geno, Baker to become a franchise quarterback. I really hope so. Fields is the type of quarterback I want to root for in the same way that Zach Wilson, I rooted for him because he was a Jet, but there was certainly some validity to the 3-car garage feeling that was sort of talked about him during the draft. I did get that feeling from him throughout his time with the Jets. And that, look, I don't want to dogpile on Sam or anything, or on Zach or anything like that, but I think the mentality of Fields is just very, very different. Sure, Fields is not getting less than $12 million a year, especially if only a 1-year deal. I mean, I don't know. I really don't see him getting a crazy ton of money. Is there a team out there that's going to give him the automatic starting role? I think 1 year, $10 million that Sam got could be something similar, for Fields in this situation, where you parlay it into a big contract next year. I'm fascinated to see where the Justin Fields contract ends up falling. Fields is going to be a bidding war with Pittsburgh. I don't think Pittsburgh's going to re-sign Fields. I really think Russell Wilson's going to go back there. Meadowland Swamp Thing, Sherwood re-signed. Yes, 3 years, $45 million, $30 million guaranteed. He is $15 million a year right now. And Quincy, I think, is getting, is it $8 million? Is that right? That sounds right. I think it was 3 years, 30. 3 years, 27 originally. Is that right? Quincy Williams. He's getting 6.5 this year. He's got an $8 million cap hit for us, but he's getting $6.5 million this year. I would like to see the Jets offer him some incentives to get up to that $15 million. I don't know if they're going to restructure as an entire deal, but I think he's a holdout candidate for me. Minshew got 2 years, $25 million last year is how I get this number. Darnold was never even sure to play with the Vikings until JJ went down. Okay, so Minshew got 2 years, 25. done. Let's sign Fields to that. I think that's fine, but I think it's ultimately going to be $10 million in year 1 and more money in year 2. And it's sort of like a team option on the second year. But I could even see it similar to what I was just saying, where it's going to be, hey, the Jets get him for, let's even call it $12.5 million. And then like a more ballooned second year that forces you to make the decision of, are you signing me long-term or are you cutting me? You're not going to hold me, captive via a tag or something like that. I think Quincy might not be in the cards in the future. Glenn's defense requires big linebackers, and having 2 small guys isn't feasible. I think Quincy, because of where he's at with his age right now and how much money we just committed to Sherwood, I would agree with that. I hope that's not the case. I like Quincy a lot. I think he's a heat-seeking missile, and I would hate to lose that because I do think Quincy is a better linebacker than Sherwood, but I think Sherwood, because of his age, only being 25 years old, has he's got longevity on his side. Jay Jets, why draft Milroe in the 3rd if you're going all in for a quarterback next year? Because you still need a long-term backup, like either way. And Milroe would at least give you the high-end potential of him being a guy. Like the worst-case scenario is if you go all in on a quarterback in 2026 and you have Milroe sitting there and he winds up being good, you have a great tradable asset or an incredible backup quarterback situation. Like, do you think the Commanders are upset that they had RG3 and Kirk Cousins drafted in the same draft and then wound up having a loaded guy that you just had to like franchise tag for 2 years in Kirk Cousins? Like, I'm sorry, but I have no problem with the Jets. If Milroe's there in the 3rd, like I think he should probably go in the 1st round. Like that's how highly I think of Milroe. Not necessarily top 10 to the Jets, nor would I think the Jets should draft him in the 1st or 2nd round. But if he makes it to the 3rd, I think that is a high enough value at that point that the, would you rather Jeremy Ruckert or Milroe? Would you rather have Jabari Zuniga or Milroe? Would you rather have, I don't know. I'm trying to think of like other 3rd round picks we've made recently. We traded a lot of 3rd round picks, so I don't really know. Milroe to me in the 3rd round has such astronomical upside that I'd rather that than any other, dart throw at that point. McCord in the 4th. If you could tell me McCord makes it to the 4th, that would be the one I want. I like McCord a lot. How much do you think Jets have to pay Javon Holland? We were just looking that up. $15 million a year is what Spot Track is thinking it's going to be. The Hopium is strong in the stream. Oh yeah, dude. This whole year is going to be about Hopium. Like I got no like playoff aspirations for this year. I want to win as many games as possible, but this very much feels like a oh no type of season. Get Kyle McCord, not Milton. I think he meant Milroe, but yeah, he changed it to Milroe down there. Yeah, look, I like McCord a lot. I would have zero issue with McCord, especially since he's a Jet fan. Like that just sweetens the deal for me. Dylan says Russ to Pittsburgh, Darnold to Seattle, Rodgers to Minnesota, Fields to the Jets, Giants trade up for Ward. Yeah, I feel like the Giants should just get Sanders. I really do. If they want to trade up for Ward, who are the Titans getting at that point? Are they taking like Abdul Carter? Because if the Titans are trading back to 3, you got to think with the re-signing of Myles Garrett, Abdul Carter's probably not going to the Browns, so it's probably going to be Hunter. I don't know. The Giants are an interesting one. I feel like the Giants should sit pat at 3 and just either take the best player on the board or take one of the 2 quarterbacks. But I've heard a lot of teams don't like Shedeur Sanders. But that could just be all smoke. Could be all smoke. The Jets should give incentive-based contracts. If players want to earn money, let them hit certain benchmarks. I mean, I've always thought that for all players. Like, just get rid of, like, all contracts across the board and just say everything's incentive-based. If you play balls to the wall, you're going to get paid because of that. That's what I would like to see. Now, obviously, players don't want to do that because you have a great year, you sign a massive contract, and then you can kind of take your foot off the gas. But, like, I would say from, like, the rookie contract, just, hey, look, you ball out as rookie, you're going to get paid better than a rookie contract. That's ideally how I would love to see it play out. And I think you get the most out of players when everything's incentive-based for them and they don't get held captive by a rookie contract. I think the owners don't want to give up the rookie contract, but that's what I would like to see done. See, so we agree. I could see a backloaded year 2 with 12 guaranteed, maybe 8 at signing. Yep, that's kind of where my head's at. Infrared says we have to pay Garrett, Sauce, and Brees. Bye Fields, especially after signing Sherwood. I mean, I don't know what Sherwood's contract is. We saw 3 years, 45 with 30 million guaranteed. That could very easily have some void years tacked on where it's not like a crazy ton. Like that 30 million guaranteed, 5 of it could be in the final year. You know, it could look like, 15 next year, which means it's only 10 for this year. I don't know. We really have to see the contract structure before we really know anything on how the cap hits go. As far as Garrett and Sauce, I think Garrett and Sauce are both going to get paid. If they want to split it up and they want to say, hey, we're going to do Garrett this year, we're going to do Sauce in the offseason next year. I would like to pay Sauce before Stingley gets his contract because I do think Stingley's going to reset the market. But you sign, if you're trying to offset the amount of cash spent, if you're Woody Johnson, Garrett this year, Sauce next year, unless Garrett doesn't want to commit right now until he kind of sees what's going on. Then you do Sauce this year and Garrett next year. You franchise tag Brees, and then you try to sign him halfway through 2026 if that's the case. You're going to have JJ on his 5th-year option. I would like to re-sign JJ if he balls out as well. Brees, to me, is the one that would be I'd be all right having walk after a franchise tag year. Or you tag him a second time. Like, who cares? The running back money is so inexpensive. Like, unless you really like Braylon and, Isaiah Davis. But you got time to decide on Brees. I don't think you have to, be doing anything crazy just yet. Julio, thank you so much. He says, if Fields isn't available, I'd bring Jones in. Jones ran for his life. Jets have more talent. Rodgers to Giants is happening. Coach is on the hot seat. Man, if Rodgers goes to the Giants, my Giant fan friends are going to lose their mind because they don't really like Aaron Rodgers because he was a Jet this year and they got to see a lot of his sort of personality this season. So that would make me kind of happy, but at the same time, I don't want him to have a good season for the Giants because then I just got to sit here and be like, great, now I'm watching him do everything I wanted him to do with the Jets as a Giant. I'm hoping Rodgers just retires. But as far as Daniel Jones, I liked Daniel Jones, after I think it was year 2 or 3, whatever it was, where he had like a pretty decent season. I was like, oh, this is like Josh Allen light. Like that's why Daboll went after him, or I shouldn't say after him, but why he was okay signing with the Jets or with the Giants as the head coach, because he obviously hoped he could turn him into what Josh Allen currently is. I don't think Daniel Jones is that great of a quarterback. I don't really want him to be here as like the guy. I think I'd rather him go elsewhere. If Fields isn't an option, would I want Daniel Jones? I would say not really. I don't really know if I want to go that route. Massey J Jets, Jabari Zuniga. Yeah, dude, I shouldn't say I wanted Zuniga, but I was pumped when we drafted him. I was like, oh man, this guy's got so much stuff. And then we cut him before the beginning part of the season. Like one of the worst of all time, worst draft picks. Stinker. But that's what I'm saying. Like Milroe in the 3rd or Jabari Zuniga in the 3rd. I'm going to take Milroe every time. Just saying. Tigo is still on the Milroe can't hold a burrito confidently. Can't trust him to hold a football. Look, we've been through this. His hand size grew over 1/2 inch from Senior Bowl to the Combine. He's got like 9.5 inch hands, just short of 9.5 inch hands. 9.5, I think it's 9 3/8 was the official measurement. Cam Ward's got 9 inch hands. And dude might go number 1 overall. I would take Milroe all day in the 3rd. All day. I do like McCord. Those would be the 2 quarterbacks I'd want to take a swing at. Is it true that us and Pats are bidding for Carlton Davis? Maybe. Let's see what Davis's projected contract would be, according to Spot Track. His market value is seen as $13.8 million. If it's $13 or $14 million, I guess I'm okay with that. It's a little bit more than I want to spend. Cornerback rank was 13th, or no, I guess market value. That would put him as the 13th ranked quarterback. Yeah, I'd be fine with that. That's around the same as Tre'Davious Ward. Ladarius Sneed had a 4-year contract, but somewhere in that ballpark. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if it's the Patriots and us that are bidding for him, but I would think we have some sort of inside track given the defensive coordinator connection. If Sanders falls to 7, would we start him? I don't want the Jets to go after Sanders. I think if the Raiders pass on Sanders, like even though they just traded for Geno Smith, if they pass on Sanders, that's telling me that Tom Brady doesn't like the quarterback that he's the quarterback coach of in the offseason. Like, and that's a big red flag for me. So I don't particularly want Sanders like at all. I hated the amount of 5 wide and shotgun off we ran with Rodgers. Getting under center with Fields would help the run game and play action. Yeah, look, I don't want to get away from the shotgun either, but I agree that Fields puts a lot more strain on a defense because of his running ability, and I think that's definitely going to help our running game overall. Now, they might wind up having an additional player in the box because they don't trust that Fields can beat a defense with his arm. But that's when he's got to take his shots. He's got to have his ability to kind of do that. Bro, why the hell would you pay Brees? I mean, I'm assuming you're talking to me, or are you talking to someone else in the chat? I don't want to pay Brees yet. I would say I would give him the franchise tag after the season. Infrared. I am a Miami Hurricane diehard fan since 1989. Nobody loves Cam Ward more than I do. I am team first. We cannot trade up for him. We have too many holes. I'm in agreement. I don't want to trade up for Ward, but I like the insight though, since you're a Miami fan, Miami Hurricane fan. Got to extend Quincy. You think Barnes is stepping up, or are we drafting a linebacker mostly high? I have no idea. If they want to re-sign Quincy, then they're probably in a wait and see period with linebacker, and then maybe they make a higher investment next year. I think at the very least, it might be a contract similar to Sherwood's, where it's like 2 years guaranteed, and then you could move off of him. Where at that point with Quincy, you're probably fine moving on with Quincy after 2 years. Sherwood, you could always re-up after that. Do you think there's any chance DJ resigns? No, I don't. I think he's gone. I think he's definitely gone. Jake, what's up, dude? Says, who is the quarterback? And if this Tanner Engstrand dude can develop a quarterback and run an offense to beat Patty and Josh Allen. Pat McCombs and Josh Allen. Look, I don't think we should be discussing trying to beat the Bills or Chiefs this year with this team, but that's the hope long term. I guess we're going to see. We're going to find out if he could be the dude. I like his resume. I think as far as a first-time offensive coordinator in the NFL goes, this is the type of resume I would be all right with. And who is the quarterback? I have no idea. If they're going with someone like Fields, it tells me that I think Milroe is probably in the discussion at some point, which I know a lot of Jet fans aren't going to love, but it tells me maybe the mindset they're thinking of. If they wind up signing a quarterback that's similar to like a Kirk Cousins, like pocket passer, then that could mean like they look more of the McCord type route. I mean, I guess ideally you want an athletic quarterback regardless that can pass the ball. But I don't think Milroe's that right now. And they were seen talking to him at the Combine. And we're flirting like hell with Fields. At least it seems like it. And his MO is not really throwing the ball either. So I'll be honest, I have no idea. I hope Engstrand's the dude. But it's such a fucking crapshoot right now. I don't even know. Dylan, what are your ideal draft with your free agent predictions? So with this free agent predictions, I would say my draft I would like to see is I want to see a top-end tight end, wide receiver, and tackle added in the first 3 or 4 rounds in conjunction with a quarterback at some point. So, like, let's say it's McMillan at 7, It's I don't know, Arroyo or Harold Fannin Jr. or, you know, whatever your tight end flavor of the week is in round 2. Or if you want to say it's Tyler Warren in round 1 and it's Higgins in round 2, like I'm fine with that combination. But I think two playmakers at wide receiver and tight end are important. I would even consider double dipping at tight end like later on in the draft as well. But you combine those 2 selections, pass catchers, with the addition of a tackle. So I would like Ozzie Trapillo from Boston College to be our right tackle. He's got left tackle, right tackle flexibility. Jedrick Wills gives you left tackle, right tackle flexibility. He could potentially be the future at the position. So if he could lock down right tackle, then Ozzie's just great insurance. And then, like, in case the wheels fall off Jedrick Wills, you got a relatively cheap dude behind him. That's a mountain of a man. I think he's like 6'7" or 6'8". So I don't know. I mean, look, there's a lot of ways the draft could break down that I wouldn't be upset with. But free agent wise, my main mindset is fill holes with potentially high upside guys on prove it deals, and, you know, go a little bit higher on the safety side of things. That would be my preference. When does free agency open? The tampering period starts tomorrow, I think at 12 o'clock. And then I believe, is it 12 o'clock on Wednesday or is it 4 o'clock on Wednesday? It might be 4 o'clock on Wednesday when everything starts popping off. Oh, Ja'Kai Polite. That's who I'm thinking of. Jabari Zuniga was on the team longer. Ja'Kai Polite was the 3rd round pick that wound up being the cut before the beginning of the season. But he was a 3rd round pick. That's what I'm trying to say. Ja'Kai Polite or Milroe. Which one would you prefer? Honestly, it's Milroe all damn day. In the same vein of Big Bus. Yeah, that was the name. I mean, Zuniga wound up being a 3rd round pick, but like Polite was the one that I was thinking in my mind when I was spouting off on Zuniga. MJ, I agree. Woody needs to sell. Ranked 32 out of 32. Unbelievable. Blocking trades due to video game rankings. Despicable. Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I'm pretty upset he's our owner. It's, you know, that last year hurt because of Woody in my mind. Like, sure, the Rodgers thing didn't work out, but like, we're not getting rid of Woody. Like, we're getting rid of Rodgers. So like, you just got to sell me hope at this point. I'm like very bummed. Very, very bummed about him. Blitz Crew, if we sign a tight end, double dip at wide receiver rather than tight end. Yeah, I guess if you sign 2 wide receivers, then I'd rather double dip at tight end in the draft. If you sign 2 tight ends in, or if you sign a tight end in free agency, maybe you double dip at wide receiver as opposed to double dipping at wide receiver here. Yeah, I'd lean either way. I don't really have strong feelings either way. Jake asking, fact, we're talking about McCourt as an NFL quarterback. Come on, guys. As a backup, I mean, I think he's definitely got high upside. I think he was the top quarterback coming out of his high school class, if I'm not mistaken. And the dude won a ton of games. Like, sure, he left Ohio State to go to Syracuse. He beat Cam Ward this year. I don't know. I think there's worse swings you could take. The MO for him apparently is like fast processing, which I don't know. Maybe that's like Goff-esque. I don't know. He's a Jet fan. I got a little more bias going his direction. I'll be honest. Ask Marvin Harrison Jr. what he thinks of McCourt. I mean, I would love to know. Is that out there? Does he say like I hate McCourt as a quarterback? Is that a thing? Tyler Show will be really good. I've seen a lot of people talk about him recently since the combine. Engstrand, Eagles amazing OC, Super Bowl winners, years of experience calling plays, develop MVP type quarterbacks. I mean, Engstrand, this will be his 14th year as an offensive coordinator. So it's his first year as an NFL offensive coordinator. But the fact that he's called plays in the past and at least knows how to juggle that while being a quarterback's coach and being, I think, was he an assistant head coach or was he might have been head coach at the time of San Diego. Him juggling all those responsibilities, like the resume's there for me. I know JV is probably trolling me right now, but like I definitely don't mind it. Tommy Boy, what's up, dude? Purge everything Green Bay. Release Cobb and Lazard. They sucked. Man, could you imagine if like the corpse of Cobb was still like here somewhere and we didn't realize he was still in the roster? Just get rid of him. Yeah, no, Lazard's going to get cut. The fact that they said, oh, we're going to allow him to seek a trade is just absolutely comical. Absolutely comical. Boys and girls, I do have a poll question in the chat. If you'd like to vote on it, we have over 800 votes on it. Should the Jets bring in Justin Fields? 84% of you say yes. 84% say yes. That's what I'm talking about. Fields bandwagon, baby. Talking about it all offseason. That's what I want to see. Boys and girls, before we get any further, I want to acknowledge another sponsor of the channel, Mando. Some of my takes may stink, doesn't mean you guys have to stink. And that's where the sponsor of today's video comes in. Mando reached out and said, Ryan, your team has stunk for a very long time, so we know that you understand what stinking is. And I said, yeah, absolutely. They're like, so bad, in fact, that we think we can smell you through the camera. And I was like, man, that's very aggressive. Thank you. But what do I got to do? They're like, hey, we're going to send you out some product. We want you to test it out. We want you to be honest with your audience. And then if you like it, offer up a promo code. I was like, all right, cool. So they sent me out the starter pack. I got the Mount Fuji deodorant. Really enjoy that. Put that on every day. In the summer, I've got what is known as a chafing problem, like two chestnuts over a roasting fire type problem. This stuff can be put on anything. Your feet, your butt crack, your grundle, your armpits, your hands, boobies, rolls, under boobies, anywhere. This stuff is totally safe. And throwing this on the chafing areas, very, very appreciated. It comes with 2 free gifts as well. I chose the bourbon leather body wash. Becca has really liked that, but I think my favorite thing in the pack is honestly the deodorant wipes. I throw this into my to-go bag and I can just freshen up no matter where I am throughout my day. And maybe I was just yelling at a camera underneath some hot lights and I just need to look a little bit nicer, smell a little bit nicer when I walk out of the cockpit here. So guys, if you want to get in on this, I've really enjoyed it. Shopmando.com, promo code JetsTalk. That's shopmando.com, promo code JetsTalk is going to get you $5 off. That's a 40% off savings on their starter pack. Thank you so much for sponsoring the channel. Boom, Mando! If you stink, use a little Mando. I have absolutely loved the products. The man wipes, or dude wipes, I don't even remember what they're called. Fantastic. Throw them in my to-go bag. Very much enjoyed it. If you guys haven't already, if you don't know, April 20th. If you know, you know. It's also Easter. So if you don't want grandma thinking you smell like a skunk, Via down below in the description. You also got Crescent Canna down below in the description. A little THC seltzers. Make you feel just right. Chilling. Greg, hypothetically speaking, if the Jets and Steelers offer Fields very similar contracts, where do you think he ultimately ends up playing? I think it's going to be the Jets. I really do. I don't think we're going to have to really ball out to have to get Fields on a contract. And I don't think the Steelers are going to pay him a crazy ton of money. I think the Steelers are a more stable organization, but I think them switching to Wilson while Fields was 4-2 and then never giving him the opportunity to come back at any point tells me, and I think tells Fields, that the Steelers don't believe in him, regardless of offering him a contract. I think if the Jets say, hey, look, we just moved off Aaron Rodgers. You're our quarterback of the future. Our number 1 wide receiver wants you here. That, I think, is going to mean a lot to Fields. I really do. I think he's going to be here. Matthew, feels a lot better not having immense pressure on the team right now. Yes, there's still pressure to end the drought, but we got to establish ourselves as a respectable franchise first. Yeah, not having the Rodgers expectations is kind of nice for a little bit. I'll be honest, I loved it. I mean, after getting offensive and defensive rookie of the year and the hope of whatever Zach Wilson could have been and going after Rodgers, 100% I thought that was the right move. In hindsight, you go after Baker and you know, it is what it is. You move off Zach Wilson and everything else. But I think I want to be in a position where we could have that pressure on us, but I like maybe removing the target off our back for a season. I don't think anyone's going to be predicting us to go to a Super Bowl with Justin Fields here. Tigo saying 84% of people want to tank the season. That's sad. Tigo's just upset. He doesn't want to see Justin Fields. I want to see Justin Fields. He was like, oh, okay, well, we had bad quarterback play for like forever, and we had one good season of football. It was nice watching offense last year, but I felt like there were plenty of times where Rodgers was back there and we were going to go 3 and out, or like the drive stalled because of his lack of mobility. Like, as weird as that sounds, I don't know. I just want to have fun. I always feel like running quarterbacks provide that. And if we don't, we're going to have fun because we're going to have a high draft pick. So, like, glass half full. Think of it that way. I don't know what this is reference to, but Grundle. Oh, talking about the Manscaped, or the Mando ad. I like it. Can we all agree the Giants are 101% tanking 2025? If they don't draft a quarterback this year, sure. I think it's possible. But they wanted to go after Stafford, so I don't know. I don't think that meant they were trying to tank. If we get Fields, can't wait till week 3 when fans are crying for someone else. I mean, look, I think your floor is Tyrod Taylor. And, like, at least Justin Fields is, like, entertaining. That's really it. Like, even if he stinks, like, the hope is 2026 quarterback class at that point. Like, I'm just trying to get through a season without it being, like, a blatant tank. I'd rather, like, swing for the fences and fall drastically short on a strikeout than, like, you know, just try to get on base for a season. T-Money, why sign Fields? I'd rather draft one of Milroe, Howard, Leonard, and see what happens. If they suck, go back to the well in 2026. You could do both, though. Like, why limit yourself to just Fields or just a rookie? Like, if you take one of these guys in the 3rd round or 4th round, whatever it may be, and you have Fields, you at the very least potentially have a long-term backup with one of these quarterbacks, while also potentially having the, you know, the inner fightings of the competition that could make one of these guys rise to the top. I'd rather double dip at quarterback in this capacity than just go with one of these options. Spiral out, keep going. This guy likes Easter. I like it. What's going on with CJ Mosley? I don't know. I'm not sure if he's going to retire or if he's just like coming back for a season, or we June 1st cut him. Like, I really like CJ. I almost wish he was just like a coach at this point. I don't think Steelers will offer a starting role for Fields, so he's out of there. Yeah, I mean, I don't think they really have a ton of confidence in him anyway. Like, even if they were going to offer something to him, I don't think he's going back there. I think as long as the numbers are close, the Jets are going to have the upper hand. Julio, just watched Fields 2024 highlights. I'm sold. I'll be honest, I haven't watched it. I should probably watch his highlights and see what it is. But, like, I want to see Fields here. I do. Ryan, go ask Steelers fans if they had fun watching Fields. FYI, they didn't. Tigo, shut up. Stop trampling my happiness. Look, if the Jets don't get Fields and they want to get Winston or something like that, fine. I just want to root for Fields. Give me that. Entertain me for a year. That's what I'm asking for. I'm not going to be beat up if we don't get him. But I do think Fields is a worthwhile swing in my book. Bottom line, we have no good options at quarterback. Yeah, well, that's more why I kind of want Fields. Like, even if he's going to stink, at least there's the hope that he could have the upside. Like, I don't know if there's another quarterback that has that same type of upside. Matthew, you know how many points were probably left on the board because Rodgers couldn't escape the pocket? Too many. Yeah, I sat in the pouring rain at the Broncos game to watch a 1st and goal from the 1, and the Jets couldn't punch it in. Ugh. If Daniel Jones signs with the Colts and Darnold signs quickly with the Vikings or Seattle, the price for Justin is going to go up quickly. Do you want Rodgers, Cousins, or Justin Fields of those left? I don't think Rodgers is coming back. I think Kirk's already kind of, threw us to the wind once before. I don't know if this time around is actually going to happen. I think Fields is the guy. I think it's just I think from like where the Jets are right now and where Justin is right now, I really think it's a perfect marriage for a season. And then potentially longer if it works out. But, could it be any, I would say other quarterbacks would wind up being like Mariota or Wentz or Winston. I don't even know who else is out there. I don't think it's a great option either way. Thoughts on us getting our own 3rd round pick back? Dude, I was shocked. When I saw that tweet come through yesterday, I was like, that's the best news I could have ever heard. Essentially, in my mind, the Jets traded up from 92 to 72 or 73 or whatever our pick is, and like we didn't give anything up. Right? Like I was expecting pick 90. From going from the 2nd round pick to what I thought our 3rd round pick was going to be, it was like a round and a half worth of picks were going to fly by. That would have taken forever. The fact that we had at least the forethought of giving up like the lower of the worst of the 2 3rd round picks, or saying, hey, we're giving up Detroit's 3rd round pick, that's like, at least there's that much forethought. Shocked. Jets offer Fields $30 million a year. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see $30 million a year to Fields. That would upset me. Watching Justin Fields highlights is making me want Justin Fields more. The Bears and Steelers gave him no shot. All right, I'm gonna have to watch some highlights from him afterwards. I mean, I feel like I've seen like enough highlights from him in college and like, the little blips of him and like what I've seen in the NFL. But maybe I just need to watch like way more. I don't know. At least Winston will throw it up to Wilson. I mean, I hope that's what Fields does too. But Winston would at least be fun from a passing perspective. Prime says, just run it with Tyrod until he inevitably gets hurt. Then we have the 1st pick next year. Yeah, but like I don't really want to see that either. Fields didn't get a chance in Pittsburgh. I mean, he kind of did. He's 4-6, and I'm pretty sure he fumbled a pretty good amount of times that they actually got back. Let me see if I could look up that stat in general. Because I think it'll show fumbles and fumbles lost. Does it say it here? I thought that was on here. Fumbles in Pittsburgh. He had 6 fumbles last year. I mean, he's basically good for like double-digit fumbles every year. He had 6 fumbles in 6 games last year. So you're talking double-digit fumbles per season. That's not great. Interceptions per year. Where do I see that? I mean, there's not a lot. His high in interceptions is 11. But his fumbles, I believe, were pretty high that year. I think that was at least 10 that season. Most passing yards in a season, 2,500. But that's combined with how many rushing yards? 600 rush yards. So he probably had like 3,000 all-purpose yards. He had over 1,000 yards his second year in the league. Oh, he had 657, but that was in 13 games. I don't know. Look, it might implode. It could very well implode. That's okay. Because, look, I've been saying quarterback in 2026 anyway. I think Fields is a dart throw. Burrow threw for 5,000 yards, almost didn't go to the playoffs. Dual threat quarterback, more valuable to winning games. Rodgers was trash and won 5. Yeah, I think a lot of Rodgers' stats were a lot of smoke and mirrors. I think a lot of people who were box score watching did not actually watch how miserable we were with like getting false starts and delay of games because of like Rodgers dicking around at the line of scrimmage, and then also not being able to move. Lots of issues here. Julio says, I'm 56 and a fan since 81. I'm tired of the tanks. Yeah, I don't want to actively tank. I'd rather try to win as many games as possible, regardless of who our quarterback is. If it's Tyrod Taylor, I want to win. If we win 10 games, great. I'm not tanking at all. I'd rather trade up for a quarterback than wind up having a high pick just to draft one. People don't understand. Moore had 1,000+ receiving yards with Fields. Did he really? I guess so, right? But there was also like no one else on that team. Yeah, 1,300 yards with Fields. But that was also so 4 games were without Fields. So I guess I don't know exactly how that broke out. I'm on board. I think Fields is the real deal. All right, I think I've been going for, what am I, 2 hours? Yeah, I'm right at that 2-hour mark right now. Daddy is tired over here, which is weird because we just had daylight savings time. So I should be a little more pep in the step than I am right now. But boys and girls, we've had a lot of people hanging out in this stream. We had like over 800 people or 900 people vote on the poll question, close to 900 people, and like got 500 people in the stream right now. Only 243 likes. If you guys have enjoyed hanging out with me tonight and talking a little football, it would mean a whole heck of a lot if you could hit that like button. It goes a long way for someone who's never watched the show or hung out in any of the streams. They might say, hey, this guy might be worth watching in the future. So it goes a long way. Greatly appreciated. Tigo and I will be live tomorrow. Tigo, I see you in the chat. Are you still there? Tigo, you're still in the chat. Tigo, are we actually doing a free agent, like our re-signings for ours? But like now that Sherwood's re-signed, I feel like we just talk free agency tomorrow. I don't know. I never made a thumbnail for our show, so we'll see where that ultimately ends up going. I see, let's see, MJ Edits says, where'd you go? Sorry. My computer's like hating me right now. Oh, there we go. That's why that happened. MJ Edits was asking if I will be live for free agency tomorrow. I will be live later at night. I've got work during the day, so I'm not going to do what I've done in the past. Where is it? I thought I was in here. No, I can't find it. So I'm not going to be live for free agency, but I'll be live later on. Tigo says, I don't know, bro. Ask Green Bean. It was his idea. Yeah, we could pivot if need be. I mean, so what we were planning on doing was like we talk about our own free agents in the 8 to 9 o'clock. Then 9 to 10 o'clock, Dom and I were going to talk about signing free agents. And then Green Bean and Dom were going to do a mock draft based on all of that. But logically thinking about this, there's going to be free agents signed that are going to change our thought process. We'll see. That's the rough outline of it. I think we could probably open up the discussion on what's going to happen because I think we're going to get through our re-signings relatively quickly. So we'll see. Who knows? All right, boys. I have enjoyed your company tonight. I appreciate all of you for hanging out in here. And look, there's going to be a lot of fun stuff tomorrow. We're going to be me and Tigo for a bit. We got me and Dom for a little bit. And then, then you get a little 10 o'clock mock. It's been fun. Ryan will sell someone insurance tomorrow. I don't sell insurance. I sell golf outings. You guys want to do a golf outing or like, whether it's with me or with like a company you have, hit me up. I'll sell you a golf outing. Give you a pretty good deal too. I've had a few people call in and be like, yo, you're that Jets guy. I know you on the phone. I'm like, holy hell. It's like, you can't even see my face. And you hear my voice. And they know it. It's fun. Well, I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for hanging out. This is Jets Talk signing off. JETS.